Good evening, good evening, good evening. Chit Chat Podcast. How is everybody doing this Sunday evening? We are back another Sunday with another episode. And I tell you, this one is going to be very, very good. We are talking about the power of understanding the opposite sex. And we have some wonderful guests on our panel today. We have an all male guest panel today. So I need you guys to come on in the room, come on in and chime in, get those questions ready for the chat box because this panel of guests are ready to shoot you straight answers on all topics because that's what we do on Chit Chat Pod, right? That's our motto. We chat all things women. So everything that you guys got on your mind, the things that we talked about openly in the chat box a week ago, come on, spit those things out. This is what our male guests who are on today is here for. So yeah, our conversation piece today is understanding the opposite sex. You know, we know oftentimes we hear the saying men are from Mars and women are from Venus, which is actually a book by John Gray. And it kind of dictates like the communication problems and eras that men and women have when they're trying to survive relationships or trying to conquer relationships. However, communication may be the problem, but it's also the solution. So, you just got to find out how the misunderstanding or the misinterpretation of each other, like what caused that, what happened, or whatever. And once you get through those things that led to the tension or the arguments or whatever, then, it gives you a common ground to sit down and have these necessary conversations to get an understanding for where each other coming from. We know people are, everybody's in different aspects of their lives. People are out there dating, been, married before divorce, dating after divorce, single moms, or whatever the case may be. And there's a lot of issues, a lot of boundaries, a lot of things that people are now, with the new social norms with dating. People are coming up with all these boundaries and things that they're saying there's just deal breakers for them. So we just want to get an understanding with the opposite sex so we can kind of say, well, maybe I don't have to do that. Maybe I don't have to put that as a deal breaker, or maybe I don't have to put that as a boundary now that I understand from a male perspective what it is that I need to know. So we're hoping that today's platform would do that for you. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce our male guest today, and in no particular order. We have Mr. James Yarber on a guest panel today, Mr. Robert Richards, Mr. Jimmy Hogebrook. We have Rodney Troop, and we have Antravius Taylor Trey, Mr. Rockout. So we're excited that these men are joining us today. Hey, everybody that's checking in. Hey, Shania. Hey, Wanda. Come on in, ladies. And if you guys got questions, Jada's going to be monitoring the chat box. So if you guys got questions and you want these men to answer any questions that you guys have, please go ahead and shoot those questions now so that way we can go ahead and facilitate that because the hour go by so fast. So we want to make sure that whatever you got that you want to put out there and you want answers to, we can get these answers for you guys. All right. I'm going to let them do a short bio of themselves. And then once we get done with that bio, Jada going to shoot us a video and we're going to get started. So I'm going to get started we're going to go from the young ones to the seasoned ones. So I'm going to start out with Mr. Rockout. Mr. Rockout, give us a bio of yourself, and then we'll go with Rodney. And from Rodney, we'll go with Jimmy. And then Jimmy will go with Robert, and then with James from there.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Antravius Taylor, known as Mr. Rockout. I am a 23-year-old barber here in Warner Robins, Georgia. Yeah, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to be a part. I'm glad that I was invited to an all-male guest panel discussion. That is all that I have to say about myself.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Rodney Troop. I am 30. Recently moved to Washington, D.C., recently single. So I'm excited to be on here to answer some possible questions, give you guys some insight on, the male perspective and our experiences.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Hoggabook. I'm a 44-year-old appliance repair business owner. Been married, been divorced, remarried. I have a lot of topics that I have a lot of answers to, a lot of topics and questions you may have. So feel free to ask, and I'm glad to be a part of this panel today.
Hi, I'm Robert, 44-year-old, never been married, no kids. So hopefully I can provide some insight onto some of your questions, but I'm glad to be here.
Good evening, ladies. I'm James Rubber. Happy to be here. I consider myself pretty well-rounded because I've been in like several different roles of the male genome, right? So I started out, this career in the military. Started out single and was doing the club thing and enjoying the single life all the way through my mid-20s, and then I transitioned into being a single parent for about 6 years. Wound up finding somebody overseas, got married at 31, and did the blended family thing because I had a young daughter, she had an infant daughter, and I stayed married for 14 years and then got a divorce. I've been divorced for 6, and that's about it. I'm 53 years old and got out of the military in 2019. So now I'm in the civilian sector. So I've been on that side for a few years, but anything you got, I'm an open book. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And one of our first questions from the audience is, for clarity purposes, are these men views coming from a heterosexual male perspective? So men, I'll let you guys answer that from one of the audience questions. So will all your answers be coming from a heterosexual male perspective?
At least on my end, definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, heterosexual here.
Yeah, I can't say I've gone down that lane. So everything from my perspective is straight heterosexual.
Okay, well, we just want to make sure that was cleared and clarified. So thank you for that question from the audience. We'll go ahead and get started. Jada, if you can go ahead and she's going to roll this clip. I want everybody to watch this clip, and we're going to open up discussion from watching an excerpt out of this clip right here.
There is nothing that a man I love couldn't put in my hands and I multiply it. Nothing. I don't care if he worked at Burger King. By the time we get finished, he gonna own. There is nothing that a man I love couldn't put in my hands and I multiply it. Nothing. I don't care if he worked at Burger King. By the time we get finished, he gonna own a chain of them. So from a husband, I desire a man who has very clear vision. Yes. He is clear about purpose and destiny, not just for himself, but a man who you marry has to be able to cultivate what is in and on you as well. Yes. So I can't have a man who is unclear about where he is going and who is intimidated by what and who I am. He has to be able to help me cultivate what I am as well. So I desire clear vision. I desire clear purpose.
Stand by, guys. I want her to start it from the beginning because this is very detailed. I want us to get the information off this video. Give her 1 second.
There is nothing that a man I love couldn't put in my hands and I multiply it. Nothing. I don't care if he worked at Burger King. By the time we get finished, he gonna own a chain of them. So from a husband, I desire a man who has very clear vision.
Yes.
He is clear about purpose and destiny, not just for himself, but a man who you marry has to be able to cultivate what is in and on you as well. So I can't have a man who is unclear about where he is going and who is intimidated by what and who I am. He has to be able to help me cultivate what I am as well. So I desire clear vision. I desire clear purpose. I need definition. I'm not a go with the flow type of woman. I need to know where we going, what we doing, what's the destination. I thrive. Hear this. I thrive when I know what's going on, and I shouldn't have to ask you. I need you to lay out the plan for us. Take me on a drive.
All right. Okay. So listening to that, men, your first question is going to be, are men motivated to feel needed or motivated to feel cherished? So when we listened to her, she said, I need to know the plans. I need to know the visions. So I need to know like what it takes, you know, if you're going to meet some woman and you're pursuing somebody, do you think it takes you setting out the vision or what your pursuit is with this person from the get-go, or you're one of those people that got to try to like, you got to get motivated to try to figure out where, you know, what you need, like where it's going to go, where it's going to be, that kind of thing. So who wants to be first to chime in on that? Go ahead, James.
All right, I'll take a crack. I think that up front, what she said, I don't believe that that's mainstream. I don't think that most women that you talk to when they're talking about a relationship with a man is expecting him to take them on a drive, right? I think that may be generational, right? The part that, you know, how I feel might not be the same as Mr. Rockout feels at 23, right? I think that it's important when you first start a relationship with somebody that you figure out what trajectories that you're on, what direction you're heading in and what direction he's heading in, and if each of your character complement the other, right? You're there to help motivate and uplift that person on the days that they're not feeling it and not feeling the drive, and the same in reverse, right? I think the perspective that she gave is maybe a generation before my time, right? Where the expectation was that the man was going to do all the driving and that the woman was along for the ride. And I don't feel like that fits the current set of circumstances. I'm not intimidated by a woman who is strong and driven and motivated and all of that, but we have to have some discussions to see if the direction that we're heading is mutually agreeable to both of us. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Let me go to you, Jimmy.
Clearly, I do agree with a lot of points that Mr. James was just saying as far as the women of this generation. I mean, me personally, I'm the type that from the start, I'm gonna lay a plan out. I'm gonna let you know who I am, what my goals, what my intentions. You know, if you're upfront and honest with me and we kind of have the same goals, then I know where and how we can move forward. You know, if you not giving that person an opportunity, I've always said a person who what I call coon trap, and I'm from Fort Valley, Georgia, so you know I'm a country boy, but a coon trap is, you know, you're showing me or telling me that you're something that you're not gonna be. So I kind of despise relationships like that. I kind of agree with what the video was saying. Just upfront and honest. Hey, baby, this where I'm going. This where I want to be. I want you to be on this journey with me, so I can see taking the wheel and go ahead and leading her on that drive.
Okay. Anybody else like to chime in on that one? Okay. Well, let me ask this then. Are men motivated when they feel needed? Does that motivate you as a man? If a woman feels like, you know, she needs you, does that motivate you to do more and to be more?
To a certain,
You feel needed.
I think yes and no. I don't want to be needed as far as like you need your father in your life. Like, I'm not here to be the end all be all. However, to provide and protect, yes, it's motivating because I feel motivated as well. As far as like, if I feel like my woman, you know, holds this much value, or, you know, she provides these things that, you know, she's going to be a great wife, great mother, then I feel motivated to be the leader of the household to make sure that she can thrive in her environment, whatever the situation may be, under any circumstance. So needed to a certain extent.
Yeah,
What
real
about
quick,
you? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I can kind of agree with what it is that Rodney was saying to a certain extent. I don't know about needed. I think it's more of appreciated. You know, again, I watched my father and my grandfather become providers and protectors of their family. And I think I'm more motivated when I'm being that provider and that protector, and I'm being appreciated for being that. Not so much as needed, just being appreciated. Appreciated.
I can
Yeah.
see that. I can see
I,
that. Mr. Rockout, did you have something? Okay.
I agree with the two previous gentlemen, and I'll say this about that. I don't necessarily want to be needed, right? I want to be wanted. I want the woman to be able to take care of herself and wants me around, you know, purely because she loves me, right? The whole part about being appreciated, I fully identify with that, right? I think if you go back to like another book, Five Love Languages, one of mine is acts of service, right? So I'm always like doing for the person that I'm with, but most people on the panel would agree that whatever your love language is, you really like pay attention when your efforts are reciprocated, right? And I think that's like the common theme, right? You do for a person and they appreciate you, and they do for you where they can as well. I think that whole mutual thing, like I'm on not necessarily the 50-50 thing, because some things you may be stronger or she may be stronger than you on, but there have been relationships in my life where there were certain aspects of the relationship that the woman was truly stronger in, you know. So in those particular circumstances, I acquiesced a little bit and played off of her lead and learned from her. And then other aspects where I was stronger on, then I helped her on. So we kind of uplifted each other as a team, and that seemed to work, right? Us being better together than we were individually on our own. Oh.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, you know, I know that I said that men, you know, some men are motivated when they feel needed, but I know when some women, you know, feel they're more motivated in relationships and to do more when they feel cherished, when they feel like, you know, they have that assurance. So, how do you guys feel about giving that assurance that's needed? You know, some women need it more than others. So how are you guys, what are your take on giving that assurance if that's what is needed for that woman to feel motivated in that relationship or to feel cherished in that relationship?
I think I'm willing
I
to
think
provide.
assurance is that's that. So who's going? Okay, so assurance. Yeah, that's hard for me because I I desire a very strong, independent woman, and it's just like what type of assurance do I have to give her? And is it a repeating thing? You know, do I have to constantly like try to bring her up like every day or every week or whatever the case may be? That right there can be taxing. You know what I mean? It's just, sometimes it's just too much, but can I assure her? Sure. You know what I mean? Sure, I got her back. Make sure that I provide an environment that she can grow spiritually, emotionally, financially, you know, whatever the case may be. But if she is not strong in some respects, then I don't want to have to be doing that every single day. But sure, I can reassure that woman that I got her and everything is going to be okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, we have a question from the audience. It says, what do y'all think is your responsibility as a spouse, a boyfriend, or a husband? What do you guys take in as responsibilities as a spouse, a boyfriend, or as a husband into the relationships or into dealing with women that you're dating or pursuing?
Real quick, if I can jump in on that, just to also piggyback on the cherish part. Um, that's it. I mean, I have to say, Shadonna, you put that together quite nicely as far as the cherishing male to female, and as far as the needing female to male. I didn't go as far as needing, I'll say appreciate it, but appreciation and cherish is, I think, the two best things. My job as a man is to cherish the woman that I choose to marry. I feel like agreeing with the last panel member there, I don't think I should have to pick her up every day, but I think me cherishing her as the woman she is, the mother of my kids, the bearer of earth, you know, as a woman, you know, I cherish that. I mean, I don't need you to be out bumping and grinding. And when I mean that, not talking in a sexual aspect, I mean just the everyday life of hustle and bustle, I guess you can use. I need to understand that you are a fragile piece of God. Greatest creation is a woman, basically. And I cherish everything that a woman's duty is. And as her man, I'm going to lift her up. I'm going to cherish her. I'm going to let her know that all I need you to do is appreciate everything that it is that I do for you. It go hand in hand. If I cherish her and treat her like the queen, the true queen she naturally was born and God created to be, then the appreciation of my hard works and efforts will show. And if there's no cherishing from a male to a female and no appreciation from a female to a male, I think that's when the problems come in.
Hey, Sharon, if I may add a little bit to that before we get to Jada's question, that whole cherish part. I don't know if for a second I'm gonna go off on a tangent, right? But when I think of cherished, you know, I immediately think of, say, like words of affirmation, right? Letting that female partner know how much she means to me and how much I appreciate what she brings, right? But it also makes me itch a little bit, right? Because there's a small part when it comes to cherishing that I caution women on making the future man pay for the transgressions of the past man, right? So if there are some areas of your life where you are less confident because of what that last dude did or that dude before, and you're carrying that around with you, you can't fully expect the next guy to make you feel better or reaffirmed about the thing, right? When the present guy has never done whatever the previous guy has done, right? So I think that when you're in the infancy of your relationship, you kind of have to explain to the man. You can't expect us to know how you define being cherished, right? If I know what that means to you and I know how to express it that way to you, how you will receive it well, then I'll give it to you. But I've been in a couple of situations where the reason why the woman had certain expectations is because she had scar tissue from what previous guys did to her. And depending on where they are in their life, right? By the time a woman is in her 40s or 50s, she's had a few knuckleheads, in the past. And that scar tissue can be a heavy burden for the next guy. That's all I have on that. If I can, with that question that's in the post about responsibilities as a spouse or boyfriend, if she could kind of that's very general. If she could kind of nail that down a little bit, be a little bit more specific, that would help.
Okay, so you want some more input from that? Okay. Anybody else want to tag that one or try to tag on that one based off what was provided? Responsibilities. How do you go into things with responsibilities as a boyfriend or a husband or a spouse when you're dealing with women or dating them?
Well, I've never been a husband, so I can't speak from that aspect. But as far as being a boyfriend, I feel as if that my responsibility is to show them that I care about them, that I value them as who they are. I think, like you said, it's kind of vague. So I'll say the main one, if we have moved into a relationship, is to remain consistent and to push them to grow and to be open with communication and be willing to grow as well in the relationship. So.
You're on mute. You're on mute if you're talking.
I wasn't talking, but I do have a little bit to chime in on that. I personally think that, especially my generation, we have this idea that the man is supposed to be. Now, don't get me wrong, because I do believe that the man is supposed to provide. I do wholeheartedly agree with that. But there are some days, there are some years where it's not going to be 100. It's going to be 50-50. It's going to be 70-30. It's going to be, she going to have to pull some of the weight. If I'm always doing this and doing that and providing this and providing that, like, as a woman, you should see that that's kind of draining. That for me, let me just say that my girl should see that that's kind of draining. I think that is something that you should talk about, because everybody is different. I think that that's something that you should talk about with the person you're choosing to deal with, first and foremost. But you have to do what works best for you. That's all I really have to say about that. And what do you think is your job to do in a relationship? I don't personally, in a relationship, I don't think that you have a job. And I don't think anyone gets in a relationship, not want. Me personally, I can just speak everything for myself. I can't speak for other people. I get in a relationship because I want to be married. I want to spend the rest of my life with my girlfriend. But I don't think that I think that's where we go wrong at. We are expecting something from someone that's not capable of doing what we expecting them to do. And so I think that that's something that you have to sit down and talk about before y'all even put a title on it. Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that.
I think those are some great points. I wanted to bring up the fact I was listening to TD Jakes, and he was talking on a relationship piece, and he said something about if we go into dating and relationship and communicating with the opposite sex, based off having a communication open forum, saying, this is the expectation I have of this. And then, and you guys are having an open forum and discussion about that. And you guys decide what's going forward after that. Like, you giving that person that option to say, yeah, I'm willing to deal with this, to see where it can go, or nah, this ain't gonna work for me, kind of thing, or whatever. But if we look at people based off what they can do from the capacity, because at 25, I wasn't capable of being who I am now at 46, to someone back then. So when I was married at 25, what my husband at that time got out of me at 25 is not what my future husband gonna get out of me in my season life. Because I could only love him at the capacity that I had to love him at, or that I knew how to love him at. So if we give each other the opportunity to the bandwidth of the capacity that person is capable of doing, and not set the expectation beyond their bandwidth or their capacity, then we're not setting ourselves up for failure. Like I'm not expecting you to be up here when I know you right here. We can work on you getting up there together, but if I know that you're right here, I can't put expectations up here yet. I got to meet you here, and then we can work towards goals getting you up here where my expectation wants to exceed where I want us to go. Because if we look at people beyond the capacity, they're able to give, they're able to love, they're able to provide, then we set ourselves up for failure every time. Do you guys agree with that?
I definitely do. Um, a lot of points that are being made. And again, um, he spoke personally about himself, and that's what I can only speak of. Personally, for me, I'm a upfront and honest type of guy in every relationship I've been in. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know a lot of people talk about that past is the past type stuff. Even down to my past. I'm willing to be upfront and honest with the girl that I'm dating, that I see we can move forward, and this can maybe become more than just dating. I want to be upfront and honest. I want to let you know what my expectations are of you, as well as what you would expect from me, in order for us to reach that goal that I was just speaking of earlier, that I would set forth to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for out of this. This is what I require. I think you should also let me know what you require. This is who I've been. This is at that 24 years old when I first married. You're right, Shadana, I'm not the same person. I don't know as much as I know now through life experience. And I couldn't give that woman what I can give my wife of today. But at the same time, those expectations and goals, I can say hadn't changed much. What I expected and required to try to build a relationship into a marriage and to live that rest of my life sitting old on the porch and rocking chairs together, I still have that same expectations and goal with the new wife. Now, I myself am able to adjust, cherish, and accept appreciation or lack thereof appreciation more now at 44 than I was at 24. But you have to have those conversations of these expectations and goals up front. And again, I agree, if that person is going to be upfront and honest, you should be able to know if you could meet those expectations of each other before anybody's time is wasted.
100%, 100% agree, right? I'm the elder of the panel, right? And even I do not define what my job is, my responsibilities, my role in a relationship, right? Because I told you, because I've shape-shifted through different relationships, through my adult life, it forced me to learn how to plait hair because I had an infant daughter. I can cook, I can sew, I can cut the grass, I can fix your car, right? All of these things, like I say, I do all the man shit, right? But the expectation is that I'm going to bring all my skills, talents, and passion to relationship, and I expect you to do the same. If I can cook like your mama or cook like your grandmama, you doing real good, right? But I shouldn't feel like the only time I get a good home cooked meal is when I cook it, right? So I feel like, the main thing that I look for in a relationship is reciprocity, right? I want to be getting back some of what I'm given. And that defines the roles and responsibilities based on where you are in your life and what you can offer.
Great point. Great point. I'm all about that reciprocation. So we have another question that says, how do you deal with an independent woman? How does that make you
Oh,
feel as men? You got those strong, independent women out there. Mr. Robert, let me hear from you.
for me, for me, that's what I desire. A very strong, independent woman. Because I can't deal with weakness. It's just okay. So I've met some women that kind of cry about everything. Everything is magnified. You know, it's like, okay, you got a flat tire. You call me, I'm at work, right? It's like, okay, I get it. I understand you have a flat tire. Yes, it's important that that is fixed. Just call AAA. Just get it done. You know what I mean? And we'll handle that. You know what I'm saying? Later, you know, if anything else is wrong with the vehicle. It's like by you calling me at work, you know, of course, call me and let me know what happened. I'm not saying don't communicate with me about, but it shouldn't be you're hysterical to the point where you don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I mean, you're an adult. Handle adult situations. You know what I'm saying? So she has to be very strong and independent. And to me, that's nothing more than being an adult. You know what I mean? So I love it. I absolutely love it.
So let me ask you this then, based off your response. Do you often get resistance when you respond like that? Like, just call AAA. You know, I'm at work. You know, just call AAA. You know, kind of thing. When she's saying, you my man. I'm calling you.
No, I don't.
So,
No.
do you,
Okay,
you know,
so
sometimes resistance in
no, let me.
communication sometimes is an approach that kind of, you know, intensify things. So
No,
that's why I'm asking.
no, I don't communicate that. No, I don't communicate that like that. No, I don't communicate that like that. I'm not harsh and brash, like, don't call me, call AAA. No, it's more of, hey, I understand this. Okay, so let's say we can call AAA and let's say we can get this done. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to encourage her to stop crying and get these things done, because right now I'm in a position that I can't get there for you. You know what I mean? But it's, if I have to do that consistently, like I said before, that is draining. You know what I mean? But no, I don't do not talk to a woman like that, like harsh or anything like that. It's more so like I'm taking time out, I'm being patient, and I'm trying to comfort her in the fact of knowing that, hey, I got your back. Right now, I got your back. But this can't be a reoccurring thing. I need you to be strong and independent and able to handle some of these things on your own.
Can I chime in on that real quick, please? And again,
Absolutely.
I can only speak again for myself. You know, I'm not saying anything against any other man or any man on this panel. But me, I don't do well with that independent woman. You know, what you was just saying about, does it make me feel less of a man? I don't go that far with it. But I also said before that it's about appreciation and cherish. And if my wife, girlfriend, someone I'm dating has a flat tire, I cherish the fact that she has no business being out beside the road with a flat tire or calling AAA or anything as her man. I'm trying to get to her, get this tire changed. And I want her to appreciate me. Those two words again, cherish and appreciate. I want her to appreciate me for leaving work or for, stopping whatever it is that I'm doing because I cherish the fact that she's a queen. I got to get to her and get her taken care of, and she appreciate me for my efforts. So that strong, independent woman, and I know that's not what you were saying per se. So I'm not going against anything he was saying. He's just saying some of the responsibilities. But again, me personally, I shoulder those responsibilities, and me cherishing her, she's fragile. She's the strongest thing God created, but at the same time, she's fragile. So yeah, it's gonna be the crying, hey, I got the flat tire, I need you. And it's me being the man that I am as your man to come to your rescue. And you just appreciate me for doing that. And I think that is how my situation works as well as it has.
Sharon, if I can.
And let me go ahead, James.
Two pieces on that. I agree with the last speaker that when it comes to like mechanical things, like I'm very mechanically inclined, I would step in and square that away, right? But I'm also recognizing that I'm at a different place, right? When I was in my 20s and 30s and I was grinding and I was headed up the corporate ladder, I was busy, taking meetings, doing extra stuff, and always kind of on my grind. Now at the phase that I'm in, my life is slowing down, a bit. I got all the money I need. I got all the, the everything else, right? So now I pay like much closer attention to the things you can't buy, right? To the relationship things and the acts of service and stuff. So I take the time to make sure that I would square that piece away, for the woman I'm with, because I want her to know that like I'm providing that bit of security and taking that worry off of her. Okay. The other piece that like really resonates with me is when you're talking about the definition just at face value of independent woman, right? That's kind of a double-edged sword, and it makes me kind of sympathize for the plight of the Black woman, right? Because we know what life is as a Black man, right? And I was born and bred to always be twice as good as the white man next to me just to get the same treatment, right? But you guys got to be better than everybody else and better than the man to get equal treatment, right? So I sympathize with the independence part, but I think some women get it wrong because they trying so hard to be independent that they're playing both sides of the coin, right? They want an independence on this side, and they also want to be taken care of on this side, right? And sometimes, the forces of nature conflict with each other. So you got to be honest with the one that you with. Be strong where you're strong and be vulnerable where you're vulnerable, but be honest about it, right? And both of you will be better off. That's it.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to chime in and say that, oftentimes women are put in the independent woman status, not because we trying to own it. It's because we've had to endure it or had to deal with things that placed us in those positions. However, I've enjoyed that time of being able and capable of having that position and somewhat of a title. However, I know that I've always desired to have that headship in my house, to step in and do what he needed to do, and me be alongside of him, helping him to do that. And so I'm enjoying this soft woman era I'm in right now. And I think women are okay to, sometimes we don't have to play that strong role all the time. Like, we got it, even if we do got it all together, we in a great place career-wise, handling our business and all that. But at the end of the day, when you can have somebody say, you know what, I know that you can do it, but let me do it, because I know that you've done this, for as long as you've done it by yourself. Give me an opportunity to show you where I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to be in your life. And I had to get used to that. I was not used to that at all. And so, and it's still a work. It's still a work in progress. And my sweetie is online chiming in. It's still a work in progress. So I'm telling you that, sometimes some women, we have to step back and enjoy that soft era moment where we're saying, you know what, baby, handle that. You know, I'm gonna fall back. I'm gonna let you handle what you need to handle, because, you know, we don't need to be strong all the time. Just because we can do it, don't mean that we need to always be able to do it. Especially when we're trying to build something with somebody and we're trying to become one with somebody. It's time for us to step back and allow a man to be a man, and then allow us to position ourselves to be what we need to be as their helpmeet, and to do what we need to do alongside of them. So I'm glad you said that. So, but yeah, so women, sometimes we got to fall back. We got to fall back and enjoy that soft woman era. You know, get out of that strong Miss Independent stage. We ain't got to stay there forever. That was a season for us some years ago, but you know, y'all walk into that soft woman era stage, and let these men do what their job is, being men and providers, and what they're trying to do in these relationships. So somebody said sometimes we don't trust the fall. That's true, but you got to know who you're dealing with. You know, if you're not dealing with somebody where you're able to trust the fall, then, you know, you keep those boundaries in place until you're able to get to that trust point. If you're not able to get to that trust point, then you might need to reevaluate that situation you in with that person. And then we got a comment that says sometimes we get tired of being strong. Yeah, that's exactly it. We get tired. You know, we can't do it. We can't do it by ourselves for too long. So we got another comment that says, I've never been a strong Black woman by choice. It's always been out of necessity. Exactly. My whole point. So with that being said, we're going to go to another question before we wrap it up and close it out. But what are some absolutes that you guys have that are no deals when it comes to dating in relationships? These are like no deal. These are deal breakers. Nah, I'm not going to deal with it. These are absolutes for me. So are there any deal breakers for you guys when it comes to dating? I definitely want to hear from the young guys, because I know these young guys dating got some. I'm pretty sure, because I'll be listening to my son sometimes. I'll be like, who in the world gonna put up with you?
Nephew. Me personally, and I don't consider myself a young guy, so maybe the younger guys can chime in. But me personally, I spoke it earlier. It's the lies. You know what I mean? Like, lying is the worst thing to me. That's a deal breaker. Just real quick, I just think the independent side and this deal breaker side all falls into the same thing of what I've always said. I don't blame women for the not trusting the man. You know, I think back to the early 90s when your TLC with the Scrubs and the Beyoncé's and Destiny Child with this soldier and independent woman stuff. You know, I fought all of that on my dad, my granddad, you know, who mistreated women so badly during my childhood and years before, that parents of our generation are training daughters up. They TTG. They train to go off site. You know, if you got a good man who's being honest, who's trying to be a provider, who wants to be a man in your life, you're so caught up at the stories your mother and your grandmothers have told you of what men are and what the social medias and these artists' music is saying today about men are dogs and things like this, that the new millennium age woman is messing up a chance at a relationship before man ever could. So be honest, be upfront and honest, lay your goals and your plans out, and see where you can go with that. And I think it'll kind of change the narrative on the dating scene. And that lying is my biggest turn off, and is a deal breaker for me.
Preach, right? I feel like any woman that has a dysfunctional relationship with the truth, right? I don't use the word lying too often, because I feel like it's disrespectful, right? When you call somebody a liar, like, your facts better be good, right? But embellishments, hyperbole, whatever you want to call it, if you're not giving it to me straight, that's a deal breaker. The other thing is, is women that have a problem with trust. Trust and possessiveness, or the lack of trust, feeds into possessiveness. And those are the women that feel like they got to investigate you, right? That they got access to your phone, they got access to your everything because they in a relationship with you. And my thing is, again, I'm not paying for the transgressions of the past dude, right? If I don't show you any reasons to distrust me, then we come in at an equal point in a relationship. I trust you until you prove otherwise to me, and you trust me until I prove otherwise to you. Yes, I've been hurt before. I get that. But let's you and I take this thing that we have, call it a relationship, a friendship, and nurture it and grow it and love on it, right? And let it blossom and become something like really special. All that other mess, yeah, I can't deal. If I see that even early on in a relationship, I'm out.
James, you got some comments in the in the chat. You had me, Uncle James, until you lost me. And then somebody said, we gonna investigate first day, Mr. James. They're laughing at your comments. So yeah.
Again, real quick, that's what James said. That falls back on that generational thing of the parents teaching their kids. He made a valid point. He said he's going to give trust. When I was being raised, I heard this, what I call a dumb slogan of trust is earned, not given. But that's the complete opposite. Trust is given until it's not earned. We trust everything in this world except for relationships. You trust your job is going to pay you on Friday if you perform the work. You trust your brakes to work on your car until they fail you. You trust taking your kids to school or daycare center until something else happens to betray that trust. But when it comes to a relationship, we don't want to give that trust until someone shows you otherwise. We want to investigate and earn and prove that they can't be trusted instead of just trusting them until they prove otherwise. So I know Niece and a lot of other people in the comment might have a problem with what Mr. James said, but he hit the nail dead on the head with that one.
That was a mouthful right there, yo. Seriously. That's a lot for us to chew right there. And I like how you said that the trust is given until it's not earned. So, yeah. Okay. I got to chew on that one. All right. So, final question before we close out. And what advice would you give to the younger you? I want each one of you guys to answer this. So before we end the panel tonight. So what advice would each of you guys give the younger you?
I guess I'll take that one first also. Be more patient. I had to understand patience. I was someone who grew up with an abusive father. I watched him beat my mom for years. I watched my uncles and my older siblings and cousins cheat, mistreat, and use women. And I thought that was the way. Anytime a woman did something that aggravated me, I was quick to anger and run. I remember, and don't know if you a PG-13 type podcast, babe, but I remember Nino Brown on New Jack City said, cancel that bitch out by another one. I had that mentality. If you didn't do something, the next person will. And what I find out over my years was just because one person did something that you disagreed with and the next person didn't, that other person that didn't do what the first person did had something that you didn't agree with. So you're going to always find somebody you're not going to find perfection. You're going to have problems in any relationship that you're in. It's all about having patience to decide what you want to put up with and what you give someone else to expect them to put up with. So younger if I had patience that I have today, I think I would have been a lot better off in a lot of relationships that I've experienced.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go, Rodney. True.
All right, so first I want to touch on the last question, my non-negotiables. A couple of things. I won't be long-winded, but somebody who can effectively communicate effectively, because if you're feeling some type of way, or my last relationship, I'll speak from that. We both were in new environments, new jobs, so she kind of demanded a lot, however, but she didn't communicate effectively of what exactly she wanted. And so we kind of butted heads a lot. We didn't really understand. And it caused a rift in our relationship. But I see that that's pretty common as well. Again, communicate effectively in a way that is that both parties can understand and both parties can, chime in on. And each party has their different communication types. Like she was long-winded. I like to pause and, have dialogue about each segment. So that's another thing that was causing rift. So, and then also somebody who's an independent thinker, who's not easily influenced. We have friends, and we have friends for different reasons. My best friend, like me and him, total opposite. And there's some things I won't ask him for, or there's some things I will. There's some things I'll take his perspective on, his opinion on, and there's some things I definitely won't. So being able to independently think and not be influenced by all the outsiders, because nobody knows exactly how your relationship is with somebody, because they're not with that person. They're not with y'all every day. So, and if you do use a source, use a credible source with somebody who has experience, And then the advice that I would give to my younger self is be more intentional with my actions and how I choose, my partner and what exactly I'm looking for.
If I was having a conversation with my younger self, first thing out my mouth would be, ease up, bruh, right? You are way too hard on women, right? Because the younger version of me was a very linear thinker, very black and white, polar opposites, and no gray in the middle. And I thought that I was a pretty reasonable person, late to change my mind later, right? But the reason why I thought I was a reasonable person, like if I looked at a situation, a disagreement that went on between us, I feel like my perspective was the only perspective back then, right? But now I fully understand that we are the sum total of our experiences and our hurt and all of that, right? And for you to grow a relationship and be able to see the other side, you have to be able to step out of your situation and appreciate it from her lens, right? From her viewpoint. And so now I look at the black and white as polar opposites, and I live in the gray, right? Because if you and I are having a disagreement, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to walk it in your heels, right? I'm going to try to sit back and understand where you're coming from, because then the two of us can identify where the disconnect is, and that will, lower the chances of recidivism, right? That we're going to walk that road again, because now we understand what our touch points are and what our trigger points are. That's it.
Okay, Robert, when you answer the question, there's another part to that question. It says, what age did you consider this to be your younger self? Like, when did it click? So kind of incorporate that into your answer as well.
Okay. This question is hard because I thought about this question like a couple of times before, and I contemplated on it, and I said to myself, like, what would I tell my younger self? And when I look at it, it's like, I don't know, because I need that Joker to be who he was in order for me to be who I am today. I need him to be impulsive, impatient, and make all those wrong decisions, right? Because I learned those lessons early in life. And so, and not saying that I'm great now, but I'm glad that I learned those lessons then. So So I am a little bit more patient. I'm not impulsive as I used to be. I am all those things now that was because of him early on in life. So like, when did it click? I think it clicked when between 27 and probably between 27 and 32, like when I was on my third deployment, right? And so at that time I was in Afghanistan, and it just kind of like a lot of things, during that time, because it was just a lot of responsibility that was on my shoulders, and there was a lot of things going on, and I think it kind of clicked, and I kind of grew like really, really fast. Like, I went from being this impulsive young kid to this, like, okay, this is not a game. I'm responsible for him, her, and everybody else, moms, dads, sisters, cousins, brothers, everybody that was under my command. And so, yeah, so about 27 to 32 is when it kind of clicked for me.
Awesome. Before we recap, is there any last comments or inputs that anybody want to give before I kind of recap and close us out?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to give a little advice to the ladies.
Okay. All right. James finna give y'all some advice, ladies. Y'all got your notebook and your pad ready?
Write this down. When you enter a new relationship, do not step into the trap where you're asking that guy about what the last chick did, right? What did she do? What are you looking for in a woman? I hate when somebody asks me that, right? Because if we are having conversations while we're getting to know each other, and I'm telling you everything the last chick did that ticked me off and led to the end of our relationship, and you do the same, what are we going to get from each other? What we're going to get is each other's representative, right? Because I just gave you the keys to the castle, right? I gave you the code. You can push all the right buttons and avoid all the pitfalls because I gave you the roadmap. But is what you're presenting to me right now your true self? Probably not. And after that honeymoon period is over and people start showing you their true self, now you're a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years into a relationship, and you realize, now I see him or her for their true self, and I don't like who they are, right? So when a woman asked me that, I said, look, this new day, new jet. We starting from scratch, right? I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me. And when I see you in your true light, in your true self, then I'll know if you're for me, and the vice versa is true, right? Don't give me no shortcuts. Don't give me the Cliff Notes version. I want to learn you, like that. I hope that helps, but that's how I live my life now. No kidding, and I'm not going back.
That's good advice. Ladies, be your authentic self. Give them that real, true version of you, so they're not getting no different version of you and later being shocked like, oh, who is this? Oftentimes I used to say I can give you Shan or I can give you Shadana. So I had to stop saying that, because then they figure like, okay, like is she really gonna give me two different people or whatever? No, I'm giving you the same person. Like you can't try neither one of them, but I'm just telling you, I used to say that, but I had to stop saying that because I don't want them thinking there's a different version of me. It's one version of me. However, the same rule apply. Don't try me like you wouldn't try neither one of them. So, but I appreciate you guys. As we can see, communication issues can arise. When people have a misunderstanding or they misinterpret each other, which may lead to tension or arguments, especially when we're dealing with relationships or dating or marriage or whatever the case may be. But one of the great news is, communication, might be the problem, but it's also the solution. It's no rocket science to this. Communication is still like the solution to all of this. The power of understanding the opposite sex is you got to have that open dialogue and talk. That's how you guys going to figure some things out. You got to have that communication, and some of those communication, conversation might be things that are uncomfortable. Some things you may not want to talk about. Some things you may not used to talking about when you're dating somebody or pursuing something with somebody. But my pastor said, when you're dating requires getting data. So when you're dating somebody, it requires you getting some data outside the basic norm. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? All that kind of stuff. That's just scratching the surface. Some stuff you got to know beyond that, especially now dating people. You got to know like what their mental health is like, how they respond in conflict, how they act when a argument arises, how they deal with that. How are they when it's dealing with stuff. If you're looking at somebody a long time, how are they dealing with their finances? How they're dealing with day-to-day operations, or how they handling their day-to-day operations in their business. Because if we're dating on a purpose, sometimes their business might become our business if we're looking at something long term. So and somebody made a great point, and be a good listener. Sometimes it requires that. Sometimes it requires us ladies to be quiet, to hush. No response sometimes is a response. So sometimes we got, and I'm working on that. I promise y'all I'm working on that, because I always want to, flap back or whatever. But I have a good one that kind of, he knows how to deal with me. So, but everybody's not capable. You might have some people be like, that's a deal breaker with me. She too jazzy at the mouth. I ain't got time to deal with that kind of thing. So, and some people just don't have the time for it. So we can't put ourselves in situations where we're hurting ourselves because we're, putting barriers and stuff in place that we can fix ourselves. But I thank you guys for being on our all men panel, our first all men panel. And I hope that my Chit Chat Pod land, I hope you guys enjoyed this opportunity. And if you guys give us some feedback, if you guys want to do some things like this further, especially for 2024, I would love to have a panel of both women and men on here, so we can have some more dialogue on some more in-depth conversations. But I appreciate the foundation and the start with this. It was good. It was enlightening. I'm reading the comments. Everybody said, thank you guys. This was good advice. It was some awesome live, so thank you everybody for chiming in today, and those who sent in questions to the chat box. We appreciate you guys for always checking in with us. Real quick, just remember the last 2 Sundays of the month, we will not have Chit Chat Pod. It'll be our holiday break, and we'll come back first Sunday in January. However, next Sunday is our Vision Board Sunday. So get your vision boards, materials ready. Ladies, we'll be working on our vision board because we had our podcast last week talking about, affirming those things ahead for 2024. So be prepared for that next week. So thank you again to my panel members, James Yarborough, Robert Richards, Rodney Troop, Jimmy Hogbook. Is he still on there? And Travius Taylor. I know he had to jump off. Thank you guys. And if you guys can respond to the Chit Chat Pod email communication account with your information, your name, contact information, Chit Chat Pod would like to send you guys a gift for being on our Chit Chat podcast as a panel guest. And again, thank you for coming and chatting with us on Chit Chat Pod, where we chat all things women. So no topics are off discussion. But if we don't see you guys before the holiday time, we want to wish you guys a very safe and blessed holiday time and a exciting new year coming up in 2024. So I'm super excited about 2024. So you guys will start seeing some things ahead for that. But really excited. So thank you guys for joining us today. If there's nothing else, we're going to close it out and see you guys next Sunday.
See you, babe. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.